Hey, what's up, everybody? I am sinister1. I'm here with my good friend
zallard1.
He's the man. You know him from all his blindfolded escapades. I am known to do some blindfolded as well. We're going to talk about how we got to this point where we were fighting Mike Tyson blindfolded at AGDQ 2020. You just saw it. If you didn't, we're going to rewatch it with commentary, so you'll get another chance to see it. But first, you need to know the long journey there. So why don't we get started, Zallard?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first of all, you need to know a little bit about the whole 2 players 1 controller thing, because that's how we weren't just blindfolded. We did 2 players 1 controller, and that was something that was done before. So maybe you could kind of elaborate on how that came to be.
Yeah. So this was before my time, but AGDQ 2012, Mr. K and Herblat were so good at Contra 3 that they decided, like, we're just gonna play it 2 players 1 controller without like almost any communication. So they started doing that in the practice room, and it ended up being to the point where they completed the run that they were scheduled to do, the co-op run, and then they followed it up with, you know, the 2 player 1 controller run. And it's one of my favorites personally. It's a really unique kind of challenge, exemplifies teamwork and, you know, all this. It's a really hard game, Contra 3, if you're not familiar, and they make it look like a joke in any way that they play it. So
yeah, it's pretty epic. I was there at the marathon. I remember watching them in the practice room and being like, "What is this madness?"
Yeah.
And like Mike Uyama's talking about how they have like the mind meld, like they have the same brain, and they know exactly what to do. And then before you know it, I mean, this was the old days of GDQ, so I was like, "Hey, we should just put this in the marathon," and then they did. So we actually have a clip for you guys. And we're going to show that real quick, so why don't you enjoy some Mr. K and Herblat.
for sure.
2 players 1 controller.
I didn't even know you could grab that.
They probably didn't either.
Oh, yes, we did.
Oh, jeez.
Holy shit!
What
is
that? No balls. Okay.
That was too good.
That was so close. May as well go for 4 blue orb patterns.
Stick with
I guess.
Oh my god.
That was the most disgusting thing.
That was real for sure.
I'm really sad.
It's like on the wall, actually.
So that's just a small taste of what went on. I think somebody's probably going to link that run in the chat if anybody wants to go and watch it. We'll put a link in the description as well, so you guys will be able to check that out. But that was kind of the inspiration for anything 2 players 1 controller that you have seen since then in a GDQ. That was the original, and it was quite something to behold. So
Yeah, it's one of my favorite runs. Every now and again, I go and watch it. Actually, Mike 89's thread reminded me of it. And I'm like, I gotta rewatch it again.
Gotta go check it out.
Gotta go check it out.
Gotta go check it out. So that kind of like was the beginning of things for us, because there is another connection to these gentlemen, these Contra playing gentlemen. You know, maybe you can talk a little bit about the event.
Yes. So, Mr. K put together this small meetup called the Contra Conference, and the goal of it was effectively to get really good players together of Contra games or co-op games. It kind of expanded a little bit near the end, but they would basically get, you know, just the top players of Contra games and get them, you know, to do co-op runs. Like the goal was basically to get like finished, like record quality runs with, you know, co-op. And it's a really good kind of idea because you know, it provides like this interesting dynamic of like teamwork and trying to reroute everything so that you get, you know, this really polished run at the end. And, you know, there was like several runs like that, you know, of all the Contra games. And, you know, I started going in 2013, and then I went to the follow-up one in 2014. And sinister1 actually went to this one.
That was the first one I went to.
He went.
So I went, and then that gave us the opportunity because we had, you know, it was 2014, so we had already done our blindfolded runs. We both, you know, knew we had good experience with Punch Out. By then, Zallard had learned more about the original Punch Out. Remember, he did Super Punch Out Blindfolded
Yes.
in 2014, and I had done Mike Tyson's at that time. So once again, we have a clip, guys. We're going to show you a little bit from, we did a 2-player, 1-controller run with our eyes open.
Yes.
Don't get mad. It's not cheating, okay? This was just something that we wanted to throw in there because it's it's meant to be a fun event too. But in the spirit of co-op, we're going to show you that a little bit. We're going to show you the fight against Super Macho Man.
Yes.
Enjoy. Oh yeah, if you guys aren't getting audio from this one, sorry, I think this one might be... Actually, hold on a second. Yeah, this was the one video that we couldn't get the way we wanted, so there's maybe no audio. Apologize for that. Well, I guess you get to see us just putting the beat down on Super Macho Man, but you'll have to take our word for it. What was going on, that they can't hear this now, but what was going on in that fight?
Basically, so we knocked him down. We're trying to figure out, like, okay, how are we gonna deal with this? And we tried to gutter him, and we realized how difficult it is to coordinate gutters at this point. Gutter being like you hold their guard up and you punch them in the stomach. It's a lot easier to do when it's just one person. Then he knocked us down, of course.
Macho just roasting us.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's all right, guys. Have faith. I mean, I honestly don't know what's going to happen right now, so I'm hoping that we're going to come out on top here, but it's not looking good. I'm pretty sure we've taken 2 knockdowns at this point.
Yeah.
And this round is about to expire. Oh, we might have got saved by the bell there. That was he was going mini spin.
Yeah.
He was going mini spin.
Yeah.
So as you can notice, I was actually on the D-pad for this one, and Zallard was doing the punches. So it was reversed.
It's interesting.
It was reversed of what we had done before. But I think at that time I was the more experienced punch-out player. So it made more sense that I was on the D-pad and that Zallard was doing the punches. I guess it's really a lot on me to make sure I don't get punched anymore, because I've already gotten punched quite a bit here, as you guys can see.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's like one knockdown in particular. I don't know if it happened already, but basically, I think we hit him with like a gut punch or something as a knockdown, and then I think I wanted to do something to the effect of like buffer a punch. I think you said something like, oh, like, do you know what to do? And I'm like, yes. And then I buffer a face punch, and you're like, no.
Not what to do. Oh, there's a gutter. There's another gutter. Oh,
we're getting them. Yes, this is it.
That.
This is it right here.
This is it, guys. Zallard did not know what to do. Well, there was a time when that was the case. Not anymore.
Check this out. And you're like, no. Wait, yes, no.
Oh man, it all worked out apparently. Yeah. Oh man, we just needed to get warmed up. We are really putting it to Macho now.
Yeah.
I think he might be going down for the count here. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're done, Macho. You're done. All right. Well, that was our first foray into trying this 2 players 1 controller thing, and we had no idea playing it blindfolded. I mean, we might have brought it up as like a joke or something.
Yeah.
We'd already done blindfolded, but we probably were like, oh, we could never do that. And then we did go on to beat Mike Tyson, so we did beat the game, which was cool. That was so that was nice. That felt like a good accomplishment. And then from there, the next step forward was 2016.
Yes.
So as you guys probably remember, we actually raced each other.
Yeah.
So we raced Blindfolded in 2016, and we both had some struggles, but ultimately the ending was good, and we are going to show you just a little bit of that ending real quick here. So I'm going to bring that up. This is the AGDQ 2016 race Blindfolded. So watch Zallard on the right side here.
Zallard has a very good chance to
You can notice we're both on Tyson. Zallard's a little bit further in the
This
fight.
is all very scripted at this point.
Yep,
He's taking care of business.
Pattern at a minute 30, and with that, there's a lot of damage you can
This
put
is
down on
almost it.
Tyson.
It's almost
That was a
it.
situation
Almost
where
there.
I knew
And
Zallard's done
Zallard
it.
is our
I knew
winner.
that the blinking pattern happened because I threw 2 gut punches, like our standard buffer, and then the second one was a star, which never happens unless he throws out the minute 30.
Yes. So Zallard completed the game first. We were both just wanting at least one of us to complete the game. That was kind of like the goal. And then, you know, so Zallard he's already done that. He's won the race. I get into a really tricky spot. I actually have to do a frame perfect punch right here. Watch Zallard's face. His reaction is so great. It's coming. I'm sorry. Actually, it's after I get knocked down.
Could still round.
I'm gonna have to get another. Yeah, it's coming up in a little bit. But nobody really knew the gravity of the situation except Zallard. So he was the only one that I think kind of appreciated it.
Yeah.
And his reaction is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good because like in that moment I was thinking like, you know, he can't do enough damage. We don't want to see round 3. Like he wants to beat him in round 2. Like there's just not enough unless he has to know first that he has to go for the frame perfect punch, and he has to land it, and you know, follow up with the star.
Here we go. Look at PogChamp Zallard right here.
Got the star. Put him down.
There we go. Give it up!
I love that reaction.
It's a good one.
Yeah, so that was 2016. We were both elated. We both beat the game. You know, we both did a good job. We had some struggles. Neither of us went 14-0 though. That we both had a loss.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. So yeah, AGDQ 2020. We didn't know that this was going to happen, but we did know that we hadn't finished the task at hand. I had struggled mightily on Dawn 2. Zallard had struggled on Bull 2. This will come up again later.
Yes.
So the other thing that happened in 2016 was in the practice room.
Yeah.
You want to hit on that?
Yeah, the practice room. I forget how it led into this. I think we wanted to do it for fun because at the time we were both practicing Blindfolded, and we wanted to kind of, I guess, mess around with 2-player 1 controller Blindfolded because
it was just for fun. Yeah, I mean that's my recollection. Is like
it was pretty fun.
We weren't being serious. It was just like, hey, let's try this out. And we do have some footage, so we're going to show you that as well.
Yes.
Von Kaiser. Can we take down Von Kaiser? This is our first attempt ever, guys, at 2P1C blindfold. Now, we're not wearing our blindfolds, but as you can see, we're clearly facing away from the television. And we have our eyes closed.
What's really funny about this is I was looking at this footage the other night, and the cartridge graphics are messed up. and we were just like, we don't care, screw it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We don't need to see any of it.
Oh man, you got hype there.
I did.
Kaiser went down, dude. Get him, Kaiser. Oh, this is good stuff.
It is.
Kaiser down. You can't handle this.
Yeah.
But this was taken by just somebody that was watching randomly.
Yes.
And thank goodness it was, because it's pretty cool to actually have something. We had a picture that Stars Wheel had shared, but once we found the video footage, we're like, that. There you go, Kaiser is down. That's the end of that.
Someone's asking us how far we're gonna get.
We're gonna find out. Okay, so I can do it. Do you know the government?
So what did we say?
We said, I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're about to find out right now.
We're about to find out right now. And what we did find out is that Soda Popinski whooped our butts.
Yes.
That's what we found out. But it was a valiant effort. I mean, we got all the way to Soda.
First try, no coordination, no strats.
Yeah. We just winged it, and we made it all the way to Soda. But Soda disposed of us handily. It was not close. It was not like, oh man, let's rematch him. I think we might have even rematched him.
We rematched him and we lost again, and I think we gave up at that point.
Okay, we realized we were done. We were like, okay, we've tried, we have failed. Let's move on.
Yeah, it was just like too hard to sync it up. Like we needed some kind of battle plan for that one in particular to progress it all.
Right. So yeah, we didn't have a way to do it, and at that time, Zallard and I lived across the country from each other, so there was no chance of us actually like practicing or making this like, oh, this is something that we can do. So it kind of just got shelved after that. It was like forgotten about. This was never a thing that was going to happen. It was like, oh, that was a fun little thing, but that was the end of it. So from there, I think both of us had set a PB in Blindfolded like after the event.
Yes. It was actually kind of funny. You did a bunch of attempts on stream, and my PB was from the AOD run. Do you remember that?
Oh,
you couldn't commentate for that, but I have the footage of that one.
Oh man,
that was a cool run.
Okay, so you got yours. So Zallard got his PB live. I actually ground mine out a little bit, which is probably the only reason I beat him by a couple seconds. So he had a 21:56. I have a 21:38. Those are still our times today. Neither of us have attempted to improve those, but that's just for context, so you guys later on can realize like what kind of time we're getting, in the marathon. But yeah, sub 22 minutes for both of us, and then from there, I kind of went away. So we're gonna talk about Zallard for a little while here. After 2016, Zallard, why don't you kind of run through your Blindfolded saga, just kind of briefly touch on the main points.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
So just to kind of recap on what I had done at that point, I did my debut AGDQ was 2014, Super Punch Out Blindfolded. I got, 16-1. I lost a 1 fight, Narcissus Prince. So I always was like, I want to fix that at some point. You know what I mean? So similar to our race.
Perfectionism, guys. He was not satisfied with beating the video game, being the first person to beat a video game blindfolded at Games Done Quick. He had to go undefeated as well.
I had to fix it. So, and then after that, that made it easier for me to submit for our race. And then after that, I kind of took a break from GDQ. Like 2017, I didn't submit anything. And I wasn't submitting to SGDQ at that point. So it was kind of funny because I got back into it basically in the practice room for AGDQ 2017. I was messing around with 2 punch outs, 1 controller with a really jank setup with I think it was 2 Wii's, a Wayberg controller with 2 receivers set to the same channel, a copy of Animal Crossing, and Virtual Console Super Punch Out. And it was kind of ridiculous, but I was able to beat it eventually. And then later on, I asked my friend OmniGamer to make a controller splitter so I could take it a little bit more seriously. And then 2018, that's when I submitted that run to AGDQ, and that kind of got me back into it. That's a really cool run. A whole bunch of really interesting and different challenges that were present in that I never had to think about, in terms of managing time and pauses and all that stuff. And then after that, I kind of didn't know what to submit, but I wanted to submit more things. So eventually it got to the point where I started submitting Wii Punch Out Blindfolded, because that's the final. That's
the only one that hadn't been done.
It's the end of the trilogy, right?
We got to complete the trilogy.
Got to complete the trilogy. I've kind of had that in my back pocket for several years, because I've always wanted to do it, but logistically it's weird because of the menus. I always thought maybe I need to have a Doc Lewis person do the menus for me. You know what I mean? And it kind of just didn't ever feel right. And then when I was writing the submission for AGDQ 2019, I started messing with the menus, and I was like, this is technically possible. If I just kind of feel it out, if I have a rough idea of where the menus are in my head, and relative positions of whenever I hover over a button or something, it kind of works out. I have to be very careful, but it can work. And that doesn't even touch on the difficulty of the fights. There's so many fights where you have really precise inputs. Like, for example, title defense bull, which is a pivotal fight in that run, has mandatory frame perfect hits if you want to beat him, like in round 1, let's say. At least with the way that things worked out. But that was a pretty important run, at least for me, because it was effectively, it was the first perfect run through of a punch out game where no one lost to anyone. No losses. And that kind of started like a fire under me, where it was just like, okay, that was the punch out that I never thought I'd get a perfect run in, because like it was already so difficult to get it into a GDQ, because at AGDQ 2019 it got rejected, and I was thinking like, okay, maybe this will be harder than I thought to get in, because it's a long game. It's an hour plus blindfolded. That's a pretty risky kind of thing to accept for a GDQ. Like that could be really bad if I get lost, and then the estimate gets really bad. But
it was a little risky. But if you guys have watched the run, you know how it turned out. If you haven't watched the run, you should definitely go watch it. Zallard did his thing there, and then there was one more run that preceded our run, which was, of course, at Games Done Quick Express. Games Done Quick Express. So me and good friend Hootie were practicing. We're kind of just like relearning Super Punch Out, and like I was thinking like, okay, well, Wii Punch Out was so good, could I fix all of the previous runs where we could get like perfect records? So I thought like, at least for me, like I want all my GDQ runs to be different in some way, and at least with Super Punch Out, if it were in a race format, that's different. That fits the bill. So that's true.
I asked Hootie if we wanted to do a race, and he was down, so it was on.
And once again, it went very well. I'm not going to spoil anything. You guys need to watch that run as well if you have not seen it already.
Yes.
But excellent runs. I happen to be on the couch for both of those, for all 3 of those runs. And I definitely was like, man, this is so awesome. And I can't say I was thinking like, wouldn't it be cool if we did something together again? But I felt like playing Punch Out again would be cool. Like that was kind of in my mind, vaguely, very vaguely. So what happened after that was Zallard had basically reached out to me.
It was kind of funny because like it was at the end of the SGDQ run. That's when I thought about it, because I realized my plane had free texting. And I had hours to kill, so I was
that the first time you mentioned it?
That was the first time I mentioned it, because I was just like, I was thinking about it, because at that point I had already asked Hootie for Super Punch Out, and I was kind of thinking like way ahead, like, AGDQ submissions are soon.
True.
Like we need to think about this. Like, do we want to commit to this submission? And you had said you were down for that,
right?
And I was like, okay.
So it should be noted that by this time, Zallard and I both live in the same area, close enough that we could reasonably do some amount of practice.
Yes.
So it is a realistic possibility that we can attempt this feat of complete madness. So Zallard, asked about it. I guess I said sure, fine, and then we actually confirmed it around August, because that was before AGDQ submissions, and we were kind of like, well, what are we going to do? We don't really have a submission video. We haven't even done this yet outside of what we did in the practice room.
Right.
So we submitted the video we showed earlier, that one at the Contra conference with our eyes open, and we figured by the time they go through submissions and everything else, maybe then we'll have something to show them like, hey, we can do this blindfolded. That'll be an incentive.
Yeah. So basically the way that we framed the submission, it was 2-player 1 controller with vision, and then later on, it was going to be, an added incentive for blindfolded, but they accepted it as blindfolded 2-player 1 controller as a bonus game. So that kind of changed everything. It was like, okay, we need to make sure that this works.
Now it's serious. Yeah, nobody's going to pay to just see that without the blindfolds.
Yep.
So Zallard and I, we knew we had to practice. The first time we practiced was actually in mid-October.
Yes.
We probably maybe could have started a little earlier, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We started when we started, and the very first time we met up, all we really did we were kind of doing a refresher course. I mean, keep in mind, neither of us has played blindfolded Punch Out at this point since very early in 2015. So we kind of just have to get our heads wrapped around again, like, wait, what are we supposed to do in this fight? Because there's a ton of memorization.
Yes.
So that's pretty much all we did in the first session, right? Like,
yeah, it was kind of that. I don't think we even blindfolded for like any fights. I think we were just like 2-player, 1 controller, and then just kind of being like, okay, this was the strat, right? Like, this is how we approach this fight.
So we had a doc, we updated it, we made notes, we did a bunch of fights, we got through however many we could, and then we're like, all right, we'll meet up again, we'll start working on the next group of fighters. So the next time we met up was in November, middle of November. It was like a month later.
Yeah.
That was the first time we probably did some attempts of blindfolded fights. And we also started messing with some of the later fights, one of which was Macho. He was just a wrecking ball.
We had severely underestimated how difficult Macho was.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw us struggling with that run that we were just kind of messing around with. If you take out vision, then it's totally different because because like
it's a problem.
It's a big problem because we were able to do gutter punches when both of us were able to look at the screen and kind of be like, okay, Macho's going to lift his guard here. It's going to lift, But when you don't know when the other person's going to lift their guard and where they are exactly, it's like impossible.
It's pretty rough. So we kind of at that point we kind of like, well, I mean, would it still be a good run if we got to Macho and lost and then just finished the run with eyes open? We're kind of like, maybe. I mean, we got to try to still beat him, but ultimately we were like, look, if we get that deep into the game, 2-player, 1 controller, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But we had a serious concern about Macho. So then we didn't meet again for another month. It was December.
Yeah. So the thing was, like, I had gone to visit my brother for a bit. But I brought my setup with me, which was kind of pivotal for our run. Because, there was a lot of times where I was, like, visiting with my niece and my brother and having a good time. But, like, every now and then when, like, everyone's at work or whatever, everyone's asleep, just, like, I'll play a little bit of Punch-Out. And I also had, like, a retro tank. So that kind of helped out in terms of just, like, the timing. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Eventually I started messing with Macho, just, like, fighting him repeatedly, thinking, like, okay, what can I do? What buffers exist? And then I started messing with it, and then I ended up ducking to see if that would be an okay buffer. And I realized his guard was up when he threw an uppercut. And I'm like, well, wait.
That cracked the case.
Wait a minute. If that just manips his guard up every time, and it's like, when he threw a hook, his guard's also up, and it's like, well, that's all of the guesswork gone. Yeah. If we duck everything, and I'm on D-pad, it's a matter of, like, if I'm comfortable with that, and it's like, if I can do ducks every time, then that's Sinister
all you need.
Doesn't have to guess. I don't have to guess.
Yeah, because we had, so just for some perspective.
Yeah.
It is possible to gauge which punches he's doing, but it's extremely hard. I only got to this point in 2015 where I was able to just kind of, from an audio sense, like, recognize which punch he's doing, but there was no way we were going to be able to do that in the amount of time that we had and just the way that we were playing. So this ducking strat was a lifesaver for the Macho fight. We weren't out of the woods yet, though. Of course, there's Tyson. We started with Tyson, and I think we got a little kind of, like, overconfident.
Yes, we did.
Because we had both beaten him so much, by ourselves, and then it's like, when we're together, like, why shouldn't we be able to beat him? But we were having major problems with him.
Yeah.
And, once again, it wasn't... So again, we practiced in December a couple times, and then we were getting owned by Tyson. And then Zallard, you again had some good fortune to find something.
It was really funny. So I was practicing on my own with blindfolded Tyson, and I made a mistake. Like, at the start of phase 2, I had done the buffer again for the star. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. But I decided to just play it out anyway to see how it worked. How it worked out. I was just kind of like, I don't know, lazy. I didn't want to reload the state, and I'm glad I didn't, because I realized how important it was. So with the way that his health refills work out and the timing of when Tyson goes pink, if you just do the buffer and you already have 3 stars and you get a 4th star, which is like nothing, which makes it seem like a waste, you skip minute 30 and 2:30 basically every time, no matter what set of luck you get. And that was the big thing that was killing us, because we can't react in time to the minute 30 pattern, the blinking pattern.
Yeah,
He wrecks us, and we kind of just...
It was critical. That's what we had underestimated, was that in one player, the blinking pattern is not a problem. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit easier to counter in one player, but with both of us, it wasn't happening. So, once Zallard stumbled upon that one, we fought Tyson again, and that was like we finally were beating Tyson. We still had a bit of a problem with, round 3 is a major issue, and it still is, but we'll circle back to round 3. Eventually.
The other part about that strategy is it saves us a star.
Yes.
So we got to carry an extra resource into phase 3, which we otherwise wouldn't normally have. True. And that gave us the damage to where every time he went pink in phase 3, we beat him. Yeah. The damage worked out perfect.
Yeah. So then it became more of an execution thing, which, it's easy to look at this game and be like, oh, if we just do everything perfectly, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's a lot easier said than done. So, we kind of had these ideals of like, okay, we can do this fight, but we also realized we need a lot of backup strats. We went through the whole thing, and we'll go through that gamut a little bit later, but we had to do a lot of like, okay, what about this situation, and we just wanted to be really, really prepared, but we still hadn't completed a run. So we get to... It's 2020 now.
Yes.
We still have not completed a run.
Nope.
And it's January 2nd, and we finally complete our first run, which we are going to show you, by the way. It's a very interesting run.
It sure is.
And, so we at least felt like, okay, we can at least beat the game. It's probably not going to happen at the marathon, but at least there's a chance.
Yeah.
Right?
There's at least a 1% chance. That's all we need.
That's all we need, man. We just need that 1%. So that was it. Our last practice before we left to GDQ was finishing that run. Mm-hmm. And then once we got to the event, we were able to practice 2 more times, and we didn't complete any more runs.
No. It was just like rigorous practice on situations.
Yeah. It was a lot of that, and I definitely tormented Zallard quite a bit because I would put him into difficult situations on purpose to see, like, does he know what to do in this situation?
Yeah. Or
how's he going to react to this? And he would eventually, not every time. Sometimes he would hit it right away, but sometimes it would come later. But it was it would spark a lot of discussion for us of like, okay, what should we do here? Is this working for us? Is this not working for us? And we were able to kind of figure things out. And I promised him, I was like, don't worry, I won't do it.
No, you won't sabotage our run on stage. Yeah, so basically, to elaborate, he would just do stuff like, I'm going to throw random bad punches, and you're going to have to react and fix it for me. Yep. And it's like, okay, I'll try.
Because that could happen.
It can happen.
Either one of us could make mistakes, so we both have to be prepared. I have a little bit less in terms of how I can react when there is a mistake versus if I make a mistake, he can have a little bit more in the way of options. Yeah. So it was more important that I troll him than for him to troll me. So I was just doing my role. And again, I was on the buttons, he was on the D-pad.
Yes.
So that was our preparation, guys. And if you watch the interview that we had with Fiesel before the run, you can kind of get a sense of where we were. We were being honest too. There was no, we weren't like trolling, like,
no.
Oh yeah, we were genuinely like concerned about how the run was gonna go. You've only completed the game once, and when you guys see that completion, you're gonna see why we were so concerned.
Yeah, it's there's another side to the coin that you haven't seen.
You have not seen this yet, ladies and gentlemen. There is some footage that has never been shown before, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that footage. So we're gonna go ahead and do that before we get into the next part, which is the actual run. You guys of course want to know how the actual run went. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but for those of you that haven't, you're gonna get to watch it. We're gonna commentate it. We're gonna give our reactions. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be hilarious.